Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, something's come up recently that I've always had a big interest in, and that's agricultural radionics. And of course, this is one of the things talked about of the many, many uses of radionics, and it seems to be underutilized. You don't hear much about it at all. I think there's some new book that's come out. I'm trying to trace down the actual author of it, who's known to do this kind of stuff. The problem is that verifying all of these things agriculturally is very difficult. There's been people out there who have claimed to do this. Of course, the different manufacturers out there, the bigger, more famous ones have claimed to have done this. But I mean, you think you would get people to go out and verify this. And I'm hoping to do this in the future, verify how well this stuff really works. Because again, energy is energy. You can affect anything with it. If you can affect another person and the energetic informational fields that surround or in them, you certainly could do that with any biological entity or energy, meaning plants, insects, etc. And you should be able to manipulate everything. And the question comes up as well as, could you manipulate weather, which is an interesting thing that was brought up recently, which I never really thought of, using radionics. Now, we've heard about this from Wilhelm Reich, who was using Cloudbuster and other things, which apparently was confirmed. And again, instead of doing stuff that was really helpful, but of course, in Wilhelm Reich's time, I don't know if there's really all that much need for water. Water now is something that is extremely precious. In the 1950s and 60s, I don't remember anybody talking about it. People talked about the problems we're going to face now, and as usual, everyone ignored it. Don't worry about it. We don't have to drink water. We can drink whiskey. So the whole idea is that this is the kind of thing that is shocking. But we live in a very controlled environment, and if you have anything alternative to get involved with or do, you're going to have a lot of trouble. And you're going to have most of your trouble from the people within your quote industry. And I'm going to talk about the filthy, dirty, evil radionic industry and all the scum that are in it, which is just about everybody in the industry, of course. Not me. I'm the only person you can get any truth from on any issue. No matter what issue it is out there that I speak about, you're going to get the truth, and you're going to get really the gnosis of it, the real truth of it, the facts of it as we know it then. And if something comes different, I, of course, inform people as well. We've got some fascinating things coming up. Here's a real cool 8 hertz battery-powered generator. You charge it up, and so we're coming out with this and a whole system of this using watches and everything else. This has been as confirmed as much as possible. So I like to find stuff that's confirmed also by third parties, not just myself. Of course, I'm the only person who's really doing any research. Everybody else is either too stupid or is a government agent like the people out there. Here's an old tool. This company, I believe, is going out of business, but this is an old what is called in Europe bioresonance, which is their form, I should say, called by the Germans, their form of radionics, or their copying of radionics and frequencies, a typical mishmash you get from Europe. But there's some interesting things, and we're going to be highlighting some of these products in the future, as well as offering some of these things that have been around. But that's for another review. So let's get back to agricultural radionics. The problem is that, and I was thinking, how terrible is this, that the radionic industry is such a confused mishmash of garbage. But what isn't? Can you tell me any organization, any governmental, anybody that is doing anything really of value? Now, I was looking just on my Amazon publishing page, and they have $450 million they're giving away. I guess it's just from publishing. I'm not sure where it all comes from. I'm going to look into it more. Monthly. Where does that money go? How come nothing ever changes in the world when you hear about Bill Gates giving $2 billion here, $500 million there? Here's Amazon, who makes so much money that they can have a little fund to give $450 million away monthly or more, based on the fund, what's happening, how many plastic surgeries his wife needs. But the whole idea is that these are all the things that we have to look at. What is going on in this world? Is there anything out there that you can point to that there is anything of quality happening, or is it corrupt to the basic core? And it's sad, and I'm going to cover all this in another. I'm getting into agriculture, and I wandered as I love to do. But the bottom line, there is absolutely nothing. Religion, military, government contractors, medicine, where they murder people every day in this country. Probably thousands of people are murdered by doctors just to make extra money or working for their criminal handlers. This happens all the time. Shocking but true. That sounds like a good TV show. Shocking but true. But the whole idea is, let's move into an area where I always like to do anything that's alternative that we can get some really good feedback from. Now, anytime you get into metaphysical radionics, and that's really what I started out with, and basically was the first person to really get it out there. There was some talk of metaphysical radionics and a couple of little paperbacks written, but I was the first one to actually get out technology to do that, inexpensive machines that were easy to use, instead of a lot of this complicated stuff that was mostly for medical. And this started this whole wave that we are in right now, and leading into one cesspool after another, unfortunately, with the people involved in metaphysics. I don't know if they're any dirtier than anybody else, but they certainly are dirty. But who isn't? So the whole idea is that's the reality of it. So, but it's, when you start doing things metaphysically, it is very, very dependent upon the individual. Manifesting in general is dependent on the individual. Do you have channels for stuff to come to you? You're working at a minimum wage job. You expect to make $1 million. Well, the point is that you don't really have the mentality or skills to do that. It takes a certain person. That's why there's so many classes in America, and why a certain group of people, of course, make all the money, and the other people struggling, very few of them rise to the top. Most all of them, like Elon Musk and that con man of the highest degree, came from a wealthy family. He went to school in a convertible Rolls Royce in South Africa. So the whole idea is that these are the kind of things that we need to look at very carefully. And I can't find anything that has any legitimacy, and usual individuals who may appear to be okay, you'll find out how dirty they are, because the minute somebody whispers in their ear, they will bend over and spread their cheeks because they're afraid. They're afraid of their money, their family, all the things that cowards have done since the beginning of time, and the reason why the world doesn't work. But I mean, getting back to proof, when you're doing things in a subjective manner as that, it's very hard. So the point is that, you can make someone or assist them be successful based on where they're at. Buckets of money are not going to be placed in front of your door. Winning the lottery, winning every gambling game. Well, this is all nice Hollywood fantasy, but I've never seen it work. Can you make yourself luckier? Yes, you can. Can you get lots of breaks you normally wouldn't? That's correct. That's how it works. But there isn't this direct rub the magic lamp and it pops up in front of you. It's not a reality, and anytime you're working with an individual, you have a problem. And this includes working with individuals' bioenergies to correct imbalances there. So everybody's different. It's very complicated to work on a bioenergy system, whether that's for general well-being or for more of the other areas, which can be anything from success to protection to love, etc. And these all combine together in very important energies. If you have bad energy around you, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much time you have or what good ideas you have, things are going to be very difficult to work out right. You may be blocked in love. You may be blocked in money. You may have attacks on you, direct and indirect. So all of these things are part of the bigger sample. And, these are the things that are ignored when people try and change bioenergies of somebody. Trying to make somebody successful, trying to bring them to a high state of well-being. Well, there's other things involved. And, of course, these are never looked at It is looked at in Tibetan medicine, where 50% of their treatment has to do with handling spirits that make you sick. You know, everybody seems to love the Tibetans, but when it comes to that, everybody turns their head and coughs. So the whole idea is that we just need to be very understanding of what's going on. So when you get into those areas, it's very difficult to have things work all the time for everybody. What percentage do they work? What other things? Well, nobody's really done the research, and I don't have the money to do it either. I've probably done more research than anybody in this area, tracking people, finding out their success rates using these kind of energetic informational tools, and mine and others, and I've kept track of this as I do all the time as a real researcher and a person interested in this entire field. What works and what doesn't work. And I don't keep to only my own, as you can see right now. Here's products right here that are not my own, and I'm investigating them to find out if I can incorporate them, or are they good on their own. Here's an interesting crystal card system from BioSky. I don't know if these are any good or not. We'll show you tests on these in the future. So all of these things we have to keep in mind as what's going on. So what do we do that we can say yes or no on? And of course, that's always the best kind of research. And when you get into agricultural stuff, it certainly is a good yes or no area. It's not as volatile as the human bioenergetic system. You should be able to insects are insects. And of course, there are many different types of insects, but if you target an insect to chase it away or kill it, that's on a crop, and it should work. And you can say, hey, it worked. Look at it, Dr. Thor. There's no bugs no more. Now, I did some of this in the past in my own little trees. I had a small piece of property with about 18, 20 trees on it, fruit trees, and did some work like this, but never had the time. I mean, you have no idea how much time and money it takes to do basic research. That's all you can do. So it means all your bills have to be paid. Where? And of course, that's why support money is so important. And bringing that up, of course, you should be supporting us on Patreon. Go over to All Access. And of course, support this organization, because we need that kind of money if you want serious research done. And nobody else is going to do it. And nobody else knows how to do it. And nobody else has any credibility. Basically, they're all cowardice whores. Wave a nickel in front of them and they'll jump as high as you want. So this is a sad problem, but this is every single industry out there. Every single area of life is the same thing. It bothers me in this area where you get, quote, alternative people who are the dumbest people on the planet and have not done their research and follow fools. And we try and educate them. They want to object against it. So it's get your facts and listen to the experts. But, well, wonder why nothing works. Well, that's the way you don't. But these people are really just interested in money. And they're interested in making lots of money for themselves at your detriment, whether it works or not. So that makes them evil. And that's everybody. So we have to understand the fact, well, should it work or not? Now, people claim to stimulate plant growth. People are selling very expensive machines where they have absolutely no proof that it ever worked. They have information up there showing machines of 20, 30 years ago. None of it's updated. There's no really good information. There's a couple of pictures of roots growing a little better and all this stuff. Well, that's pretty piss poor research, and it's not really done anywhere to prove a consistency of it. It's just out there, something that's never been changed, and apparently people like that seem to make enough money, of course, with their connections to very unsavory people, that they keep going on. They're sponsored to keep going, so they have crap technology that you continue to buy. That's the other problem here, is that nothing in this world is not messed with and coordinated with by a bigger evil entities that are out there to stop the good people. I mean, the radionic industry has one main writer that was is a government agent, basically, worked for the Department of Defense, and continues to perpetrate garbage out there, talking about how he can cure everybody, which is very illegal, while he is suffering from a serious autoimmune system condition. Welcome to Radionics. Let's not just blame that industry. Let's welcome to the medical industry, the fraudulent supplement market that 99% of it doesn't work. And you have to take this with that, so it's absorbed. Oh yeah, tests say this happened. Well, was that absorbed in the system? And what are these tests? Supplements is a, I don't know, $60 billion industry, and they pay a lot of people to talk about stuff, and they put out fake research projects so that they can make a lot of money. So, but if you don't think like that, then you're special kind of stupid, as I like to say. So the whole idea is you can test these things. It either works or it doesn't work. Did it kill the insects? Did it not kill the insects? To what degree, etc. You should be really able to measure this. And of course, supposedly this was done. Now, in the one book out there that mentions this, Report on Radionics by Russell, a relatively rare book, of course, those people who are all access and Patreon members can access these rare books that are hard to find through our library. But I believe I've seen this book 80, 100, whatever it is. It's old now, like most radionic literature now that is getting older and older that was even kind of new at the time. But Russell talks about the harassment that I don't know who was doing this. I don't know if it was him or not. I got to reread this book. It's a fascinating book, and I haven't read it in about 30 years. But he talked about the fact of switching over to agriculture. And even Hieronymus started to do this. And again, it should have been something that he moved away from it. They were harassing him, supposedly. And again, all the facts and figures here are a little difficult to find out. And these people are gone, and there really isn't much written about it. And there's a couple little interviews here and there. It's the same old story with a very messed up industry of incompetent boobs that are in this. And most of them, as I say, are government agents to make sure things don't work right. They've got the head of a major organization in the United States who's a gym teacher. And has lots of his little followers that think he's a genius. Yeah, I took a science course. So the whole idea is that you have these boobs, and then you have the people that follow him are all the stupid idiots and dumbademia that haven't done anything. Just like that organization hasn't done anything, and the guy who started it, or at least one of them, was a complete stooge. And of course, passed it on to his stooge children. So the whole idea is that, which have done nothing with it. So a long history of dead people in that died young and everything else. So, but let's not get too much caught up in that. But it's a prime example of how everything is so unorganized and how there's no organization trying to unite everybody. Bring everybody in. You're into radionics. Come on, join. Why aren't there people calling you up trying to do that? None of that happens. So there's really very few training organizations. I will soon be kicking in my training, but there really isn't any schools you can go to and learn radionics that I'm aware of, except out of England. And the problem with England is that you ultimately have to show up there. And it's a 2 or 3 year course. I mean, that's quite a commitment. So you're just not going to train many people that way. And there's a problem there. They also, by the way, train people in agricultural radionics, and you think they would have more information as well. But, most of this isn't out there. None of these people know how to market properly, how to use the new internet and anything else. So we just have a lot of bad information. And most of the time when you talk to anybody involved in this field, they're not willing to give you much information. As I talked to one radionic guy who is well known in England, who was scared to death, scared of his own shadow, greedy, scared, copying machines from old things, and was afraid to do anything because they're going to come and grab him. Well, right on the Radionic Association site, there's at least 20 people who are doing medical radionics and selling their services. So this kind of stuff just doesn't cut it. But this is the kind of low-level bums that are out there producing garbage technology and proving nothing. Now, the point is that as with all of the radionic technology, which basically, as most people manufacture and are using, it's all basically psychic technology. You're just psychic tuning things. Radionics as an energy is non-physical in terms of what's considered physics, in terms of frequencies that you can tune into. That's not radionics. Frequencies is frequencies. So confusing those two because there's an ignorant bunch of people in the industry. Is there an industry? It's the blind leading the blind. So the whole idea is we get back to the reality that all of this means. So getting back to agricultural radionics. Now, there's one organization that gets involved in all of this stuff and has been for over 30 years. I used to subscribe to their magazine. They have meetings every year. They seem to be pretty well organized. They put out I don't know if they have a physical magazine anymore, but they used to. And it was very well done. All the alternative people in agricultural and animal husbandry, I guess, they do cover raising animals, how to take care of the soil, etc. Is a place called Acres USA. Just like an acre of land, add USA to that.com. And these are people that specialize in all that area. And these are people that should be supported. I mean, it's the only place to go where you're going to actually see stuff. And there are courses on radionics. There are people that teach it there. At times, I haven't looked at them in several years. I know they're still operating, but they used to have all this. And there's even a course in agricultural radionics there now that I remember that's on DVD. As a matter of fact, I have it and have never watched it. Who's got time for anything? So this is the problem when there isn't a professional institution out there that's supported enough to investigate something as critical as this. And as we can add into that, actual weather control, as I mentioned earlier, and of course Wilhelm Reich was doing this, but again, we just don't know how valid that is. Supposedly, he took one of his cloudbuster machines to Arizona and set it up, and it rained. And the dumb bunkers who basically run the world as the alternative people grabbed their ankles and spread for them, have never really pushed this out there. So we don't know. There's been people who've done some research. And of course, cloud busting is very fascinating and something that is really needed now. And you wonder, because, it doesn't matter how well you grow your crops or anything. If you don't have rain, you are history, or at least water. And water comes from rain. No matter where your water comes from, it has to come from the sky, and it has to be then piped to you, if that's the only way. Or, of course, the water tables are dependent upon the rain as well. So if the water tables, which are going down all over the world, that's because there's not enough rain to replace the water table, which is kind of like having a bucket of water under the ground, but it ain't endless. So the whole idea is that all of these things are something that should be really looked into, that are critical. And there doesn't seem to be anybody out there that's interested in this. And as usual, we have people want to give trillions of dollars to follow a con man to go to Mars, which is pretty much impossible with the technology they claim they have right now. And it would cost so much that everybody could drive, have a pound of gold and drive a gold-plated car for the cost it would take to get a few people up to Mars, which you can't create an environment either, by the way. You can't create an environment when there is no environment there to begin with. There's no atmosphere there, and to create an atmosphere or a magnetic field to shield the sun from destroying your atmosphere is near impossible to do. But you have to wonder what the logic is. Go from a beautiful, wonderful planet that gives you everything to a dead rock where there's nothing. That fits right up Elon Musk. Yeah, give me lots of money. So the whole idea is so he can blow it and do nothing with it and give you an electric car. 150-year-old design. We've got a computer when it does the door. So the whole idea is that all of the things involved in that are part of the process of what's going on in general. So this is a critical area, and we really have no information on it at all, other than coming from there. But you got to remember, all this kind of stuff, just like, quote, alternative treatments or cures or anything else, are kind of done underground. The chemical pesticide industry is a huge industry. This is a $1 billion industry. I don't know how many billions it is, but it's selling pesticides around the world so that people can grow more food at a high toxic price is a huge, huge business. So if you come around and put these people out of business, they will kill you, or at least buy the crummy politicians, your neighbor, etc., that vote for these scum, and then put them in, where do you think politicians come from? Well, you would think they came from another planet, but unfortunately they come from next door. So the whole idea is that these are the type of things that nothing is being looked into it. And of course, the problem is, and very few people understand, it's just like in the last 10 years, there's not been a single drug that has been released to the public that wasn't funded by government dollars. So the corporations don't do it. They scoop up the money. They buy their private mansions on clean, beautiful places while they take the money from everybody else. So, gee, what a shocker. But I mean, this is a very critical area. And as we go into times where water is less, the problems with actual growing zones are squeezing down smaller and smaller because there's less and less water in different areas. You know, the earth changes are there. The environments that were productive years ago are being less productive today. The climates have changed. There's less water. Some place more water. But all of this causes a big problem for the average grower. But let's get back to acresusa.com for those people interested in that. So make sure you go over there. I will try and leave a link down below so you can check them out. But as you said, I subscribed to their magazine. They even had a complete article and instructions on how to make a cosmic pipe. Now, Hieronymus made this cosmic pipe, which is supposed to draw in cosmic energies to stimulate the plants, to make them grow bigger and better. And apparently it worked to a degree. The problem is that as any accumulator system is, it sucked in huge amounts of radioactive energies, which are all through our environment, and couldn't be more. I mean, you know, thanks to all the stuff going on in Ukraine, the planet is now being more and more zapped and polluted with radiated energy, including Fukushima, which is a cesspool that's never really been cleaned up either. So, welcome to planet Earth again. So the whole idea is that all this stuff, so these pipes suck that energy in. But there's a great article on it, and at one time there was even a company making these, which has gone out of business. I don't know. The article was in a paper about, shockingly, about 25 years ago, but did give you plans on how to make one, and including the little symbolic electronics that was put in it, and how to make this tube, which basically was a tube you stuck in the earth with kind of a little radionic machine on top of it, and it would suck in these particular energies. But as he said, what was stated was the fact that these things brought in a lot of negative energy along with the positive energy, and it didn't appear that they stayed in business very long. So if they were really good and worked well without any toxic side effects, you'd think they would do better, but who knows? You know, the people that get involved in all these areas tend to be very old men. There are people that are doing things as they can. You get old, you get sick, and then you die, and your thoughts die with you. And that includes whatever you've done. It's really sad, but, you know, that's exactly what's going on out there in every single phase, and particularly radionics, where there's absolutely nothing being saved by anybody. So there's nothing out there of any kind of proper... You would think that there'd be a museum and everything else. I probably got one of the largest collection of radionic machines there is. I'm sure there's other people that probably have stuff out there. But, you know, you would think that certain organizations would have places where they would have this stuff. They don't. So it is a serious problem of the disregard of this area. But there doesn't seem to be any Elon Musk interested in this kind of stuff so that it can be further researched. If somebody would pour a bunch of money into this, with a skilled head of research, amazing things could be produced. But the problem is number one, where are you going to find that other than me out there? I'm the only radionic expert in the world and have been for 40 years. Nobody else out there really has any knowledge whatsoever other than maybe their own little instrument. But they have done very little research. They have no proof that any of their stuff works. People have been making some products for 30 years. And where is their volumes of research proving what they've done? Well, there certainly is proof that one of their main students died of cancer. This was a top teacher for the SE5. A fairly young woman died of cancer. We have the crap made by, of course, the Kelly family, whose father died young and who begged for money to cure his wife of breast cancer in the 90s. And that same machine is still there, and the crap that's there as well. So where's the beef again? I mean, these people don't show it. And of course, unfortunately, most radionic practitioners seem to die fairly young. None of them are living into their 80s and 90s, except Hieronymus, who lived to be his early 90s, I believe. Everybody else has died in basically in their 60s, their late 60s. So the whole idea is that you just don't have people that are living all that long from the original, quote, pioneers out there. And there's reasons for this and everything else that is not need to be covered in this particular video. So the whole idea is that we run into all the things that this adds up to, and there's nobody out there really communicating. Nobody talks to each other. Nobody does anything. Nobody's trying to exchange information. It's all about them making money and being fearful of anybody else that comes out with anything else. And of course, this entire industry, like the world, is controlled by a bunch of evil, basically criminal, organized crime people that tell them what to do. And they're more than happy to do it and to bend over and spread for all of them that come there, whether under threats or for 50 cents. So this has further been proven by recent contacts with the horrific organizations out there and how they made sure they harassed me while they put on a total crank. And that's the problem, people. If you listen to others and they put on these cranks that know absolutely nothing, and you go down that path, well, that's exactly what they want, because you will fail. But let's see, as I said, with agriculture, you have a reality that is there. Either works or doesn't. You get growth or not. This should be able to be measured very easily. You certainly can easily measure insect infestation. So, did it work or didn't work? Were your crops eaten or not eaten? Another issue came up, which should work as well, which has been a problem even in my little orchard that I had, is rodents and stuff. There's horrible problems with Norwegian fruit rats who used to climb in all the citrus trees and eat everything. And they were big, healthy mothers. And the whole idea is, can you chase them out using radionics? Well, you should be able to. You should be able to chase mice out. I would think, if done correctly, you should be able to, which was another problem, was birds. Birds ate all my fruit. I put nets up at one time to stop them from eating it. And then I went out at one day, and the nets were full of birds that were stuck in there. So I said, well, I don't know if the fruit's worth killing 50 birds over, so I took the nets down, even though, birds are interesting. And, of course, if you have a pet bird, those are fascinating, very intelligent birds, like cockatoos and other things. But these other kind of birds out there, they carry all the disease and everything else because they're everywhere. So birds are not necessarily your friend, and certainly not your agricultural friend generally. They're supposed to eat insects, but they prefer the good fruit. But there's no reason why this shouldn't work on this as well. Now, I did a little bit of insect work. Again, I just didn't have time. I was so busy doing so many other things and had zero help. So the whole idea, I was unable to really get into chasing birds away. I didn't really have I had a rodent problem, which I solved very inexpensively with my Norwegian fruit rats. They have little transmitters that put out a frequency, a physical Hertzian frequency that the rats don't like. And you just plug this in someplace. Why bother tuning in a machine if you can get a $25 little thing you plug in? It put out a frequency that disturbed them, and they left. Quite interesting. So it was an easy fix for that. Especially when you're working on more important areas as well. But these are all the things that need time and money to look into. You need to have full-time people doing this so that they can track all this stuff. What works, what doesn't work. You claim your machine works? Well, let's try it. And all the things that go with it. But, none of this has ever happened in the industry. Now, going back to Russell's book report on radionics, a fascinating, rare, and great book that everyone should read. He stated that he was harassed by the federal communications industry for broadcasting. Because, the term in radionics is you broadcast. But, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if these machines really were putting out any energy, because generally they don't. And if you're putting out a radio frequency or something else, well, this is really not something that works. Again, we're talking about frequencies and frequencies in themselves, but that's not what radionics is. Radionics is on a higher level. So whether frequencies can go out and actually make these kind of changes and direct it to specific insects and increase everything else, well, we just don't know. But generally, they were not frequency generators from what I understood these original machines working on crops. They were more traditional radionics, which basically has no energy going through them at all. Very few even have any kind of amplifiers in them. So basically, you're looking at a big mishmash of wires that don't make any sense. I have many radionic machines, and the dialing aspects, there's no electricity going through it. There's nothing there. They're just wires hooked up to dial knobs or potentiometers that you're dialing in a psychic realm. Now this, without getting into the details of all that stuff, which is covered in my course, this starts a psychic empowerment process. This process has to be amplified to get really good results with it. But people have been doing this as a psychic tuner for years. There is a guy doing this kind of work today. He's done it for 30 years with no instrumentation. William Bengston, who's a part of Dumbadamia and has been doing this for 30 years, claiming great results. And as far as I know, you've never used any kind of machines and has been able to cure people of cancer and everything else. He's done it with mice studies and everything else. So he's done it very officially and gotten excellent results, so he claims. He puts out now charged waters, etc., and they don't work. So I'm not sure what he did in the past, but he has no background on how to transfer energy. That's why you need experts in these areas, and you don't get experts in these areas without contacting the right people. So the whole idea is when you get involved in all these processes, you have to understand what the field is. But, having something you can verify, like agriculture, certainly is a huge plus for radionics. So, the fact is that you can actually verify the information. It works or it doesn't. Can you control weather with it? What would be interesting to take pictures of the sky and then put in radionic rates to see if you can make it rain or dissipate rain or rain more. All these things would be fascinating and very trackable. So we'll see what happens here. So if anybody's interested in that, that is the place to contact. Acres USA, that's one word.com. And they have a great. Now, they also talk about building soil, doing all the alternative stuff, not using chemicals, organic. And, of course, anybody who's a farmer or interested in that, the money's in organics. Organics sell for a high premium price, which makes farming very profitable. So if you're going to grow out there, especially as a smaller grower, then you certainly want to make sure you go organic and find out all the different ways of doing that, how to build your soil, how to build strong plants that produce more, all those things they cover, and they cover it in an area that is natural, etc. So do check that out. This should give you a great basic lead. Anybody who's been involved in this stuff or knows anything more about using radionics for agriculture, do contact me and let me know what you know so we can pass this on. Until next time.